Zac, Mr. Stunning, you'd be looking forward to jumping on him for the first time under race conditions on Sunday?
Yeah, of course. He's a quality horse. He's a very consistent animal, and he's in a nice race. So I'm looking forward to riding him.
You rode him for the first time in a barrier trial. What sort of feel did he give you?
Yeah, it definitely was not what I was expecting. From what I've seen in all his videos, he's jumped out and travelled quite strongly, and the jockeys always seem to be having to take a bit of a pull or a tug on him early to try and get him to drop his head, and he pulls himself into it. Obviously finishes it off, but in his trial he jumped out well, and he actually never touched the bit. He was off the bit with the loop in the reins the whole way and seemed very relaxed. And in the straight he was just floating along, so I don't know what to make of that. You know, I'm still learning about him a little bit, and I suppose what he does on the weekend is what I'm going to take out of it going forward. You know, he's been a very consistent horse for a long period of time now, so I'm not worried about the trial. I'm going to the races with confidence, believing he's going to run well.
Frankie's comment afterwards was, you've got soft hands as a rider. That may have relaxed him. Could that just have been the case?
Possibly, but he's a long way into the season now as well, so maybe after having all those races and then having a little bit of time off, he might have just chilled a little bit, and some horses can do that as they get older. So let's just see how he is on race day.
Main rival is Beat the Clock. From your observations, is there much between them?
No, there's not. They're very level. It just comes down to the tempo and the runs that they get. And, you know, they're as good as each other.
Regan, Diamond Brilliant, you rode him on debut on Derby Day. What were your thoughts on that performance?
Yeah, I think he's a talented young horse. You know, I think he handled himself very well. He had a tough trip that day and covered some extra ground, but still, like the way he balanced up and looked the winner and did hit the front, and just got run down the last sort of 100 metres. So, you know, with natural improvement from that run, you know, I think he'll run him very well.
Did he just peak on his run that last 100?
Yeah, obviously being his first start, he only had a couple of soft trials, and he just peaked on his run the last little bit. But he should be ready to go on Sunday. And although he's drawn, you know, a bit of an awkward barrier, I think if he can overcome it, I think he'll run very well.
As far as a racehorse is concerned, him knowing his job early on in his career, where's he at in that regard?
Yeah, he's still learning his craft. That's why I think from his first start to his second start, he'll take massive improvement. And I was able to sit on his back in a gallop about a week ago, and he gave me a nice feel. So all signs showing that he's improving as a racehorse, and I think he'll turn up on Sunday.
Couple of nice horses in the race, Silver Fig, Lanieri Generals. Overall, have you had a look at the race, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Silver Fig's very talented horse. Obviously had a long layoff, but its first start run the other day on the dirt track was very good. Hit the line strongly, and it's actually drawn a better barrier than me. But as I said, you know, if we can overcome the barrier, I've got a lot of faith in my horse, and I think he'll run well.
Beauty Generation, Zac. Is it just a case of if he turns up, he wins?
Well, obviously his rating suggests that. He's clearly the best horse we have here in Hong Kong. And his rating is well above his opposition. You know, he's got to give weight away. So it gives the other horses a little bit of a chance. But, you know, there's no reason why he's not going to go out there and continue on doing what he's been doing. He's very well in the mornings. He's kicking his heels up and squealing and carrying on. He got rid of the riding boy a week ago, and you know, the horse couldn't be any better, so I'm looking forward to being back on his back on the weekend and hopefully continuing on our way.
Were you happy with his trial down the straight?
I thought his trial was good. He's had a long season. He's had a lot of hard races, and that can sometimes take a bit out of the horses. And so John was able to give him that little bit of a let up, and I think he's got the bounce, the spring back in him. So I was happy with his trial, and I'm happy with what I've seen since.
From a tactical point of view, you've got a new rival here this time in Mission Tycoon, who led all the way to win the Classic Cup. If he was to press the issue for the lead, how would you approach that?
Yeah, I don't think they'd be silly enough to do that. They've got to give their horse a chance to run a race, and I think if they're just going to go out with the intention of taking the lead, you know, they're going to have to work too hard to do that, and he's clearly just going to fall in a hole, so they need to be sensible about what they're going to do.
Joe, full of beauty. 5 from 5. What did you think of his most recent win on Derby Day?
It was fantastic, yeah. He has never missed a shot, and the way how he's doing things, all that we could have is confident on him, you know.
Take us through that last race, particularly the concluding stages. Looked like you weren't too tough on him late. Was there more for him to give if necessary?
Yeah, there was. Obviously, he's been a bit unlucky, and last time, I mean, he's been a little bit unlucky on his gates, and last time was a very good example of it. But he's been coping every situation that he's been put into, and he's been impressing us every time. Last time I was able to put him just behind the speed, and when I pull out and I got him going, he just responded very nicely, and he definitely crossed the line with plenty left. So he's a very exciting horse, and we all don't know where he's going to end up in rating.
You take on Refined Treasure and Styling City, both horses that are entered for the Group 1 sprint at the end of the month. Is this a tougher task here for Full of Beauty?
Maybe not. Obviously, I do respect some of the horses in the race, in particular Sterling City, who has been running in great races. But look, what my bloke has done so far, I gotta be saying that he's such a classy horse, and I think he's gonna be winning again.
WAIKUKU, Joe, talk us through the derby with him.
Unfortunately, he didn't have a very good gait. We were kind of forced to ride him cold. As we all know, he had some issue before the derby, and he was quite brave to overcome the issue that he had. Obviously, amazing job that the connection has done to get him to still perform very well in the derby. As I said, we were forced to ride him cold and finish off the race. Unfortunately, at the 1,000 meter, he lost the plug for a little while. I had to push him. He took longer than I would want him to put himself in the race and start being competitive. I had to buy a little bit of more time at the 700 meters as I was planning to angle him towards the outside, but Enrichment was actually losing ground, and if I pull him out that early, I would have to go 4 deep, which wouldn't do him any good. But when I pull him out on the straight and I made a run, he flashes home and he ran such a great second. So he's a very promising horse. He's probably coming to win his group race very soon.
No Furore, but you've got Dark Dream, Ho Ho Khan from the Derby. This time you give weight to them. What are your thoughts heading into the race as far as his winning chances are concerned?
Well, based on his ability and what he's done so far, I've got no doubts that the horse is a chance. At the same time, as it is a handicap race, I've got to be respecting some other horses, you know. If he's a bit lucky and if things fall into place perfectly to him, he might be winning.
Just a final one for you, Joe. He's nominated for the QE2 Cup, a race you've won in the past with Neo-Realism. Is he at that Group 1 level at this stage in open competition?
It does give me the feel that, yes, he is a type of horse that is capable to be winning international races.